two, three, four.
And welcome back to Breakfast with Brothers.
What's going on, party people? Today, the day has finally come. The day has finally arrived.
He's here. He's older. And, well, he is our brother. Who would have guessed?
Breakfast with Brothers with their brother? No way.
Yeah, no
we
way.
have
First
Brad
guest
here,
has gotta be
everyone.
First guest has to be. That's what I was saying.
But yeah, tell everyone about yourself. Tell everyone a little bit of a backstory. You know, give them what's what. Show them up.
All right, so I am the born first, best, oldest brother of the three brothers. My name is Brad Porter. I grew up with these knuckleheads in Liberty, New York. I currently live in the Hudson Valley between Kingston and Woodstock. I am happily married with 4 children. And yeah, it's for work. I do a bit of everything, mostly horticultural stuff, landscaping, things like that, but also some excavation, plumbing here and there, kind of a jack of all trades, I guess, per se.
Sick.
Yeah. It's always
No,
fun and
that's
interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's being so far away from each other, we are able to get in touch like this, which is nice. And also today, being podcast day, we get a little bit of each of our faces, and everyone could see the brotherly likeness, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we all got a beard going on.
Yeah, we all look relatively alike. Everyone says we look really, really closely alike, but I don't know. I see significant differences between the three of us, but I also see very close similarities.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I think with having kids and seeing the difference in parents and like their faces, and even like as years go by and they change and like look more like the mom or dad or whatever, but it's probably the same for us. It's yeah, we all have little things that are the same. We all have mom and us, so
facts.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. And it's kind of crazy, thinking about coming up at, such different ages, and then,
Yeah.
how we looked like when we were younger, and then growing up, looking at what you looked like as a young kid, and then what dad looked like, 10 to 15 years ago. And then
Yeah.
now, obviously we're so familiar, it's kind of become like just commonplace to see what they look like, but also like going back into old pictures and seeing what once was, it's just like, holy cow, like the resemblance of where I'm aging into from when those pictures were taken it's uncanny.
Time is insane. Yeah, we'll get to some of that for sure in the episode. But yeah.
But yeah, Ian, so
Time.
what's on the table first? What should we dive into?
Well, I think Brad wanted to start with his number one thing of all time. We were chatting a little bit yesterday, so he might just take the reins here and start where he would like to start, and we'll let him do that. Let him have the floor.
Yeah, steal the show.
All right. So it was hard to think of really the general idea for, I think the topic was things that I want you guys to know, which I feel like we always talk about things I want you to know, or yeah, don't do this. This is dumb. But I was trying to like think of like 3 things really that seemed super important to me. And then I was like, all right, well, how do I do these 3? Do I go from the third to the first to the second to the first? So that's kind of the way I think to build up to number 1. But yeah, and we'll go from there. So
Sweet.
Yeah, put us on.
okay. I also had some ideas for maybe later stuff on the shows, but we'll get to that. We'll get to some ideas. I feel like there's also been parts of other episodes that we could talk about where I was like, yo, that's $1 million idea. And like, we could talk a little bit more about that.
All right.
All right. So Um, Number three is just, I think, consciousness and awareness, just in life in general. Now, it doesn't have to be like, you're so in tune with the earth and, like super philosophical, super religious, super anything really. It's just like literally being aware, I think, is probably a really big one. I think that most people have a hard time with because they get caught up in regular life, that they kind of forget those little things that kind of maybe tell us a lot more than we think about or see, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
what does consciousness look like for you? For people listening, like when someone thinks about what you're talking about, for them, they obviously have to relate it to something. They have to
sure.
come into their lives with some type of idea of it. What does
Right.
consciousness mean to you?
So, consciousness awareness could be while you're driving and the things that you're seeing and paying close attention.
Hmm.
Where some people are kind of just focused on the road, or maybe even, doing some of this. Just being aware of what's around you. Obviously, that driving, that's an important one, right?
Right.
But it's really like the day-to-day stuff, I think. I'm probably going to relate some stuff to like children, just because that's easy for me. Um, but it's the little things that you're seeing before it happens, sort of like keep things going for them. And as an example, like maybe like breakfast or something. Um, Maybe Sonia's having a hard time doing something with the kids
Yep.
and she's trying to do something else at the same time, being aware of that and just helping out in that moment with what needs to be done. And that can go for like anything. It can go into like work, helping your friends, or just hanging out, or just being in the moment and kind of seeing things that I frankly think that a lot of people just kind of look over. And it's not like you have to do these things or it's like expected. It's just
Sure.
it's kind of being there and being aware of like kind of what's going on. Um,
Right.
so yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point, especially now if you want to be living in the present, being there in the moment, because all too well, all too often, I'll be in this boat myself a lot, where you're on your phone, you're scrolling, or you're checking out stuff, you're going through notifications, you're getting things done that you think you can get a leg up on. In reality, you're, doing a lot of ignoring, or you're not there for the moment of what's going on in your household, or
yep,
say you're hanging with your friends, anything like that. So, that's a good point to be able to be in the moment and be who you are right then, and be able to, you obviously don't have to mind read by any means. That's not what I'm
no,
saying,
no,
but it's always definitely a new understanding, to be there, be ready, be present.
yep,
I think
But
it's
no,
hard
that's
for a
cool.
lot of people to stay present, nowadays.
Yeah.
yes,
I think it's extremely hard for people to do that because everywhere you go, it's like,
yep,
Buried. That's right.
yeah,
yeah, you're just stuffed in your phone. And I don't know if people will see that in the YouTube clip, but yeah, but like a lot of people are just buried in their phones, not acknowledging the world around them. And like, of course I'm guilty of it too. I've done it plenty of times, and we still all do it.
yeah,
So it's not something you can necessarily avoid, but you can definitely cut back on. But I definitely agree. Awareness is needed, and consciousness, or consciousness to the fact of what's going on around you, is definitely important.
yeah. It could also save your life if that
Yeah.
matters to anybody.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to think of the guy I follow. His it's like Mick something. I think Carry Trainer, I think, is his Instagram. Super cool dude, but he's always into the EDC firearms kind of thing.
Yep.
And I don't know if the quote's from him, but he always uses it. It's awareness. Awareness is the currency with which will buy you time. Did you get that?
That's interesting.
So being aware is like the currency for, like, if you're aware in a supermarket and something crazy is happening, you can buy yourself time by getting out or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So acting in the moment, being again present for whatever's
Being
going
aware.
on.
Yeah.
You know, taking
Aware
into
of the
account your
unaware even.
surroundings.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, you don't want to go crazy with being aware, like some people take it to the next level. Some people will sit in a restaurant where they can see the door.
Yep.
Where they can see the exits, or know where they are at least. So you could take it as far as you want. And all of it's really just for personal protection and, like, helping out your family and your life. And I think the phone one's a big one for sure, because it's, like you said, it's easy. I mean, everything's technology these days. Everything is easy to just do this from, like,
Yeah,
I don't know if you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's right at the palm of your hand. You can do whatever you
Yeah.
want so easily, so quickly, and you can look up literally anything.
Yep.
It's just so addictive because it's just an overload of information just right at your fingertips.
Yep. So yeah, and you can expand on that in like a gazillion different ways. Again,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
kids is huge for letting you know when it's time to, like, not be on your phone.
Right.
Like, you have a little 1.5-year-old crawling around like she wants to play. So you should probably just throw that thing over there and just forget about it. Even your older kids, I feel like, as your older kids, but they're 8, 9, they're getting old to a point where, they see kind of like what you're into. And if you're into the phone, then that must be kind of more important, apparently.
Sure.
Somebody said, children measure love in time, or time spent.
Yeah.
So it's, I think would be easy for a kid to think that, well, they're on their phone a lot, so they must love that a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean,
No,
like, if
for
you
sure.
show them attention and stay with them, play with them, whatever it might be, obviously they're gonna think like, okay, yeah, this is important. I'm important.
Starts with a good household.
Yes. Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life. Read it.
JP.
Shout out.
Shout out, JP, if you're listening. But yeah, does our phone talk have a segue into number 2? I don't know if that even relates closely at all. You're the star of the number 3, top 3 things in your life here.
So yeah, I mean, they all sort of link, and we can head into number 2. But yeah, number 2 isn't necessarily my idea. However, I have sort of always tried doing this, and then someone sort of put it on the map and put like a name to it. You guys know Jocko, the Navy SEAL?
I don't think so. Wait.
I don't believe so. No.
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Jocko. I'm gonna mess up his last name. It's like Willenick or Willenink. Y'all need to Google him if you don't know. He's got a podcast
Jocko.
too. Yep. Super important man to at least listen to. Now, he's a Navy SEAL, so he might be a little intense for some people. But take it as you may.
Yeah.
I think these days people are a little, they get hurt. Their feelings get hurt really easy. And, I don't know if I should play into that or just kind of, leave it be or what. But, yeah. So he's got a lot of cool stuff to say. And the one thing that he talks about a lot, he's got like a few books. He even writes like kids' books. I got the kids some recently, actually.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's big into like jujitsu. But yeah, you should check him out. So what he talks about is extreme ownership. And by extreme ownership, he means, or what I think he means, is, as an example, I feel like in today's world, I hear a lot of people give either excuses or a lot of blaming on other people for their own life in a way or circumstance. So extreme ownership is basically saying like, all right, that person's complaining. It was someone else's fault on the road today. There was traffic. This guy was taking forever. Those damn school buses, whatever. That's why I'm late. So extreme ownership would be, I'm sorry I'm late. It was my fault. All on me. Done. End. Because in reality, you got to be somewhere on time. It's not like you haven't been to work 800 times. And if there's a ton of traffic at, 8:50 and you got to be to work at 9, wake up 10 minutes earlier. So it's stuff like that. It's like actually owning your own life and not necessarily blaming yourself for everything, but, like manning up per se and saying like, these are things that I need to do to get there on time instead of blaming 5 other people,
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I will say accountability is like a big part of the structure of my life. I feel like being able to put a transparent mantra on what you do day to day is huge, and being honest with yourself. Because if you're not honest with yourself and you're just going to continually lie, you'll just continually feed into that. And then your relationships will suffer, your progress will suffer, anything you're doing will suffer. At least, that's what I've seen. And I have some friends, who like to do that, play the blame game or roll out a carpet of excuses, and it just gets tiring and excessive. Eventually you can say whatever you want to them, and unlimited amount of times, and forgiveness and what have you. Nothing will change until they change. So you put a big picture on it with Jocko there. I know another big proponent of that is have you heard of David Goggins?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's up there too. He's on that list of men people should know about. Yep.
But yeah, no, that's a cool thing to
people.
check out. I haven't heard of him, but now I have a reason to check him out. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, David Goggins. I don't know. He might be more intense than Jocko.
Yeah, David Goggins is pretty nuts.
Yeah, like physically, like what he puts himself through or what he has put himself through his whole life. Not that Jocko, not saying anything against you in any way whatsoever. But, both Navy SEALs, both Navy SEALs, both amazing humans, done a lot for our country.
Sure.
But yeah, both definitely intense people. But yeah, David Goggins for sure. He makes me laugh. He's some of the stuff that he says sometimes. There's actually this other guy. How I learned about Jocko was I feel like you could have 90 people on and 85 of them will say Joe Rogan about like learning about this person or that person.
Yeah.
I used to listen to Joe Rogan a lot, but I haven't the past like year or so. I don't know why. I just sometimes I have time, sometimes I don't. But so Jocko, I don't know how he got hooked up with Jocko, but he was on one of his podcasts. And then also this gentleman, Cam Hanes. Cam Hanes is a bow hunter. And he became friends with Joe Rogan and then got with Jocko, and even this other guy, John Dudley. He's another like famous archery guy. And then also with David Goggins. And because Cam Hanes, like, he basically trains his body the whole year for bow hunting. That's like his
sick.
Yeah, like that's like his purpose. Like he has a regular job, and he just runs like every day, maybe twice a day, like 10 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. And then also he does what's called lift, run, shoot. So he lifts every day, he runs every day, and he shoots his bow every day.
That's easy. That's a nice little routine he's got there.
Yeah,
I mean, his kids are a little bit older, so it's probably a little easier, but still, I feel like they're all like his son. I think just did like a world record pull-up record.
What is that record?
Yeah, a lot. I don't remember the number, but you'll have to look that one up too. But yeah, so there's those 3 guys, big ones, 4 guys. John Dudley's huge in the archery world. But yeah, sorry, kind of going off on awesome men, but
No, it's
kind
okay.
of involved in all of it. So
Yeah, but all still
I
the same people who are accountable, who have raised, big
yes,
households who are all about that and responsibility in the highest sense.
yeah,
I feel like looking at those people, they're a touch of inspiration, and especially if they've written books, telling about their own
yeah,
experiences, putting people on to their thoughts and ideas and what rolls through their head on a daily, because not everyone's going to be able to get that. And hell, not even everyone's reading to be able to interpret what these people are thinking, what they're going
yeah,
through, stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I think it's with accountability, I think it kind of comes in hand with, not to go off a little bit off of what we're talking about, but sort of this nihilistic view that everyone has nowadays. It's like, oh, woe is me. I can't do
mm,
anything. I'm not able to accomplish anything. It's too difficult. It's too hard. It's going to take too long. And, I'm guilty of it too. But, I think there's a point in your life where you just need to try it and just do it. Because you'll never know if you're going to be good at it or not. And I've realized that in trying to find something that I would like to do for a job, and just something as simple as that, just working, focusing on what I might be interested in, and even if I'm not necessarily like into it in the start, it's important to just try it and test it out and see what it's like, and go from there with it. And so I think that comes into the idea of accountability, is just making sure your own self is focused and I guess pushing yourself to do it either way, and making sure you follow through with at least trying it, rather than just saying, well, I put like 5 minutes into it, I don't like it.
yeah. The kids are big on that one. They'll try it for 3 minutes or wait 3 minutes and be like, it's not. I'm good. Like I'm moving on.
Yeah, but I mean, like, kids is completely different because they're
Yeah,
so encapsulated with everything around them. They want to do
yeah,
80 million things.
yeah. But yeah, I agree with people and humans. It's it's crazy to think about. A lot of times, like at work, I'll think about like, how did people figure this out before we had these tools to do it, or how do we know these plants are medicinal, and how do we know those ones are poisonous, or it's like somebody had to
Trial
eat
and
it
error.
and die. Yeah.
Yep, trial and error.
Or do it by hand. And I think a lot of that stuff is really like overlooked in the aspect of today's world. I don't want to say that my generation is kind of petering on that. You can use your hands to do stuff versus headed towards the computer world, like your guys' generation, where I feel like you probably still get a little of both depending on who your parents are.
yeah.
And where I got mostly the hard work, grind it out, dabble with technology. So yeah, I don't know. I just think that people see what they see today on social media and their everyday lives of things being automated, and it's easy to want to feel lazy, or maybe there's too many options. I feel that way sometimes when I go to the grocery store. Like, I just want like this kind of bread. There's
Yeah, just a
15.
regular loaf of bread.
Yeah,
You're looking
or
at 28,000 varieties.
yeah. I mean, bread's a bad one. I like specific bread.
Yeah.
Bread can be real good for you or real shit for you. But like, I don't know. Trying to think of another example, like of all the options, like sauces or condiments or barbecue sauce or
Cereal.
dressings. It's like cereal. Yeah, it's like there's almost too many. Give me like 5, and then I'll be like, oh, cool, I'll pick this one. So like
It's
maybe
funny.
that's how. Yeah, maybe that's how
That,
people
that's
feel.
true. That's true. It's like the paralysis of analysis. especially now with technology being so big and what we have access to and what we can do every day with any type of technology, it gives not only our generations and what we're learning with, but the ones coming up so many different options that it's kind of like, what do I choose? Where do I go? What road do I drive down? And that's a big issue, especially, since I've, done some reading a little bit about it, just that with so many choices, it leaves, less chance for that stuff we were talking about, accountability, resiliency. There's not a lot of people, like we were talking about, being honest with themselves and being able to be forthright, because they jump from one thing to the next. They don't have a sense of, oh, I know what success feels like, because they've only tried something for an hour.
Yeah.
Something like that can't happen overnight. It's not something you're going to try, you're going to get good at, you're going to start breaking records, you're going to be in the Olympics, none of that. I think, the back to where we were talking about all those important people, they're people who were persevering, people who were putting in the time, putting in the effort, not only because they liked what they were doing, but because, they were honest with themselves. They held themselves accountable. They showed up every day. They did what they had to put in work to be able to be successful. And they knew what that looked like and what their goal was. I think that goes a long way too. Being able to avoid that paralysis is having those tough talks to yourself and being goal driven, writing things down, maybe even having a journal, tracking progress, because like I already said, you're not going to be able to do it overnight. It's not going to be a once and done, and then you're already good at it like that. It's got to be.
It's no overnight oats.
Nope.
Seriously though.
Nope.
But yeah, thinking about that grocery store, it is real. It's too real, of just the amount of options that we see every day, from tech, from food options, from going to getting insurance for a car. I mean, pizza places, anything like that. It's all over the place, wherever you look.
The main issue would be like social media. You see literally
Social
everyone,
media.
and you could see literally everything,
Yeah.
at the palm of your hand, and you can see it all. I mean, it's such a debilitating effect that it has, because now you're looking at yourself as something less, and it's like, oh man,
Right.
why can't I be like them? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that?
Right.
And it's like I said, it's debilitating. It kills motivation, kills
Yeah.
any thought that you have that you are like a separate person, because now you're looking at other people and thinking like, why can't I be like them?
Right. Yeah. I think what I tell the kids all the time is there's only one you. So be you.
Yeah.
Because no one can be you. And you can be you to the best of your ability, because you're just being you. So you can't really be fake. You can't really try to, you try to be like someone else, but ultimately
Yeah.
just be you, and you'll be an individual, like if that's what you're seeking. I feel like for kids in school, it's kind of that. It's like, what about me is like interesting or cool, or it's like, I'm like, well, don't try to like be other stuff. It's like, just be you. People will see that. And I think for adults, it's kind of the same thing. I think a lot of it stretches into sort of another topic, where out of the three things I wanted to talk about, again, there was like so much more that I could like expand on. And like literally I was like thinking of like all these like random little things, like things I would tell my brother, and like I would just like, as I'm doing them, I would like say them in my head or something like that, and just like laugh, because it was this ongoing list of like, it's still like stuff I tell my kids, but it's like stuff that I still want to like, let people that I love know about, like things that are important that we don't think are important but actually really are.
No doubt.
Right.
But yeah, so if I could do like maybe like a 3.5. Say I started with this one at 3.5, and then went to 3, and then went to 2.
All right.
Well, we got through 3 and 2, so we could definitely go back to 3.5, and then close it with 1, because that'll be the epiphanous moment,
So I think a lot of times people have what you guys are talking about, like, what do I do? There's all these options, like, who am I? I can't do it, even though they've tried for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to call who your parents were and how they were in your life, slash trauma. So, not that I myself have dealt with trauma in my life from our parents, but a lot of people have. So I think, and trauma could literally be both your parents argued all the time, and that atmosphere wasn't good. It could be
Sure.
that your father mistreated your mother, physically, mentally, emotionally. It could be as bad as molestation. It could be as bad as being an alcoholic and, hitting their kids. So that trauma and their parents, I think, plays a huge role in, where some of us humans wind up in life. I feel like, you could have a great upbringing, but still not do so great for yourself because maybe possibly you were coddled and you weren't made to work hard enough. All the way
Absolutely.
down to you could have had a terrible childhood and now you're on top of the world because you worked through all that stuff. You worked through healing your trauma, whatever it might be, and whatever you have to figure out in your life to like have relationships and have a good life with the world around you and your job or your career or your dog, whatever, but yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that's a huge one that I think people don't talk about. Yeah, I think we all kind of, as a man, I can say that there's a lot of times that I'm just angry for what I don't know. Whether it's like how life is going currently or what I thought might occur in my life before a certain age, or, in high school, I think you're sold this: go to finish high school, go to college, get a degree, find a good job that'll pay for your degree and pay you a ton of money, and you'll be happy. But get married, buy a house. Where I think some of that is true, and I think some people can find that for sure. But I don't know. I'm not sure really any of that buys you or gets you happiness. I think I've learned there are a lot of things that do give you happiness, but obviously I've not figured it out yet. But I think those little things that we learn along the way, that's like it kind of like hits you either in your feelings, your heart, or like in your brain. It's like a light bulb that goes off,
Yep.
where it's like, okay, wow, like that is why I'm here. That is like my purpose, or what I need to be doing. And I don't know, it's hard to explain, but like when you know, and it doesn't have
Right.
to be like, bam, this job is for me. Bam, this house is for me. Bam, this car is for me. It could be like your kid standing up, or your kid like wanting to go to you, or say like that they want Papa, they want, you know what I mean? It's like these little things that are just like, whoa, okay, like that's super deep and important to me. And that one's kind of obvious, but there's one example that I kind of wanted to talk about, which was since we had a home birth recently, the midwife will come and go with weighing the baby, and weighing children. Yeah, they weigh them all.
Every single one of them.
So they'll make sure that the baby is gaining weight. So she's feeding enough,
Right.
that she's weighing enough that she's healthy and she's getting what she needs. She's nursing correctly, so on and so forth. So this woman that helps the midwife, she's a lactation specialist, and she is like amazing. Her name's Indigo. Shout out to Indigo.
Sick.
Yeah, a badass woman. She just came in and was like, so during the birth she was cool too, but like I think this was more of a one-on-one intimate kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it like spoke to me more. And it was not even about me. I was just there to like witness it. So she was talking to Sonia about like how babies latch and how and what angle and how like I mean maybe this is too much for you guys, I don't know, too much for the viewers, but it's like it was really awesome. But just like and how a woman's body in the morning, the milk is higher in sugar to get the baby like awake and like going, the body like activated, where later in the evening it's high in fat to like let the baby sleep and like have energy through the night to rest. And like I don't know, all these little things that just came up that she was just so easily speaking about.
Yeah.
And like easily speaking about, but it was also like it was easy for me to understand. And like I'm a man, you know, like not that I don't know some of that stuff, but you know what I mean? It just and it really like it hit me like how like special humans are and like what we're made out of and like it's stuff like that. It's like boom, like it really was one of those moments of like this is what it's about. Like
Yeah.
I mean, obviously having a baby born at home and seeing children be born, like that's
Sure.
that's also one of those things. But that moment recently was, yeah, I know it seems, you know, whatever, it's a nurse coming to the house and talking about breastfeeding, but yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, like this is helpful in my understanding of like life and being connected to like my wife and like the baby. And I think those are the things that I think really people being aware, people taking ownership of things can grasp because they're in the moment. They're available to like see and hear and think and witness that stuff. So I know that was a long tangent, but
No, it's okay. But I want to just make
I was
sure
going to
you
say
have
you
enough
looped it all the
time.
way back around.
yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
there's
wanna
a
make sure
certain
you have
thing
enough
about
time.
being able to be real. Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
I was going to say I want to get Brad to his final point too before we don't have enough time to cover the last
Sure.
topic of his. So
Yeah.
I don't mean to
No
cut
doubt.
you off, Zach, but
No, I was just saying, you know, there's a whole sense to being real, and you know, obviously, I don't think we should stray away from anything just, you know, to save the listeners. You know, I think if anything, they want to, you know, be able to hear what we have to say for all its depth. You know, there's no stone that should be unturned.
yeah, truthful and honest interpretations. You know, this is life.
Yes.
There's no, I don't know. There's nothing that you can just cloak over it.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's, you know, boundaries and stuff. Like, obviously, you don't have to, like, get into, like, for example, when you were bringing up breastfeeding, you know, it's not like you were about to lay out details and start describing, you know, events
Yeah.
to people or anything.
Yeah,
But that's a real thing. Like, it's not like there's mothers out here who, you know, don't know what breastfeeding is, or husbands and families who haven't been through that process, and midwives and just having birth in general, or even raising kids. So I feel like, you know, that's as real as anything. And like you said, being purposeful with it, intentful, and then being there in the moment, obviously just speaks volumes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think with people being confused about where they should be in life, I think a lot of times we're not listening to those little things that kind of poke us here and there.
Right.
A lot of time, I mean, I do it. It's like, okay, you know, is that something that I should follow up on? Nah, you know, it's not a big deal, but really that's probably the things you should be kind of tapping into. And yeah, dealing with the whole parental thing and, you know, just like Ian said, sticking with stuff that, you know, hey, I want to maybe try doing electrical or being a plumber. Do it for a year. And kind of see where it takes you, because you really never know. And really a lot of times it's the people you meet doing whatever it is, you know, even just being, if you're in an office setting, there might be people in there that turn you on to something that like changes your life. So yeah, just gotta stick to it, work hard. But again, balance is probably another thing that can be thrown on that list. Balance is pretty big on everything, but
Right.
But yeah, we'll lead this all into number one.
Let's hear it.
All right, number one is, it's a controversial one. Number one is God. I don't know. No one wants to hear it. No one wants to hear about Jesus and how amazing he is, Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, but it couldn't not be my number one, to be honest. I would be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't make him number one, regardless of what we were talking about. Your favorite jelly beans, God, number one. Doesn't matter. But yeah, so all of that stuff, those 3-4 half point things that I made, it all ties back to God for me. And I don't want to get a relationship with God mixed up with super religious institutions, even though it's like, well, how could it not be? It's God. Like, there's the Bible, there's Catholic, there's Protestant, there's all these sub-tangents to stuff. But I think what's important is the relationship with God.
And everyone's is different, just as a note.
Yes. So it's kind of right. It's kind of what I'm tapping into. I am not the greatest Christian. I could say that hands down. And I think any decent human Christian, or maybe even just human being, could say that, like, I could always be better in my faith of whatever form. So I may not be the best person to, create disciples and tell people about the Bible and where it says this, this, and this, and all this stuff. And I could always read the Bible more. I could always give more. I could always, there's always these things for sure. Because
Right.
Obviously we'll never do justice to the man upstairs, ever. But that being said, I think having the relationship with God, and the relationship again could be, for me, it's sort of like he's there. To me, he's there. He's always there. And he's there more in certain things that really like touch me. So as an example, back to the nurse, and seeing children be born, or nature. Nature is a huge one for me. Nature is like a big reason why I went to school for plant science, and love the outdoors, and have sort of witnessed things and felt things in a lot of those moments, being outdoors or being involved with special moments with my family, that I really feel like his presence for sure. And I think it's again back to those like little things where I said that maybe speak to you a little bit here and there. I should try that. Like, a lot of times that's the man. He's trying to tell you something.
Right.
Sometimes maybe not. Like, oof, I really want to, I don't know, eat that whole chocolate bar or the box of chocolate bars. Maybe that's not him, but.
Smoke a whole box of cigarettes right now.
And I mean, hey, it could also lead to, yes, let me smoke that box of cigarettes, that whole pack of cigarettes, so that I never smoke a cigarette again. So it's kind of like
God speaking to me.
I don't know about that. But hey, I'll take you. I'll take your word for it.
But yeah, I don't really mean that. I just mean to say that, like, sometimes, yeah, I feel like also people get this idea that God is, he's going to make everything perfect in your life. And he's not. He's going to make you work for stuff. He's going to put you in difficult situations to test you. He's going to put you through the ringer for things that sometimes just seem real easy to people, or that seem to come real easy to, we'll say, not great humans. So in some senses, it makes us feel like he's not real or he's not listening. Because, hey, you're helping these evil people. Why? But there's more to it than that. You know, at the end of the day, there's only one person that you have to answer to. And who knows what'll happen then, you know, unless you're dead, then you can figure it out, but we don't know. So yeah, again, like I said, number one is hard because for me, it's like, that's the truth.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to see some people and their directness towards how they felt about God. Where to me, it was kind of like, well, why can't there be this? Or why can't there be that? Or, well, what about this? But as I've gotten older, what that stuff is, or what that stuff is to those people, and what it is to me now, is doubt. And if you want to like commit yourself to something, and it's God, you can't be on the fence. You either believe or you don't. Because those on the fence are still on sort of the, I don't want to say the evil side. You're maybe thinking about it, but like say at the end of days, it's like, okay, you got to choose. There's a fence in between white and black. If you're on the fence, you're in the black. You're not half and half. I feel like with God, that's it. And I don't mean to say that he's not merciful or he's not, you know, willing to work with you on stuff. But I think that's what like this life is for. But yeah, I think it all ties into all that other stuff, being aware and being present. And again, back to those people that are definitive on those things.
Yeah.
It's, I get it now because it's almost like laws. We'll say gun laws, for example. Well, some people might say that are open-minded, well, you know, it's okay. It's just this little part that they want to take away from us. Like, not a big deal. You know, we need to get a license for that now, or we need to get a background check for this now, or we need, you know, they're just taking away this part of the foregrip, or they're lessening the amount of bullets that we can hold. Like, that's okay, you know. But then, like, the next year, it's another one of those little things. And then the next year, it's another one of those little things until they finally have it all. So I feel like with the belief in God, those people were so strongly gave answers to questions about like my, you know, thoughts about it. It wasn't to like discourage me from it. It was to like give a definitive on like, this is it. This is the way. And not that they were trying to be jerks or say like, oh, you should believe in God because that's the way. And, you know, telling me like I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people get that. So like, I get where people can be kind of put off. I get that people have gone
Absolutely.
to church and it's like, you know, oh, I'm never going back to that place. But really, I mean, your relationship with God, can it be enhanced with church? Sure. Do I think you need to go to church? No. Now, I'm sure plenty of people will argue that one too. But I don't know. I think ultimately, if you're at the end of the day, you're thinking about other people's feelings emotionally, you're thinking about how to be a better person, you're thinking about how to help your wife and your kids be better humans, your brothers. We're here now doing some of this.
Oh, yeah.
And the last thing, part of the number one, was because I was like, should I say this is my number one? People are going to be like, whoa, I don't want to listen to this podcast anymore. And I just ruined it for all you guys. But I thought maybe, just maybe, there might be someone listening to this that needs to hear that.
Absolutely. And I think
I
it's
mean,
important. I think it's important that
absolutely.
you're truthful to yourself, and especially with what you believe in, because sure, like you said, like people might be put off from it, but that's what they think, and if they think that way, then they're very close-minded.
Right.
And that's not saying that they should follow exactly what you do, or following God or anything like that. If they don't, that's their prerogative. They have every choice to choose whatever they want to do. But I think it's important that everyone hears everything. Taking, or having a bachelor's in philosophy now, I've seen a lot of information and I hear a lot of different sides of arguments and everything like that. And I always find it important to hear everything before I make any decision. And that's something that people don't think about at all, because they hear one thing that they really like or that they agree with or that the herd is following, and then they don't want to look at the other side because it's like, well, if I go to that side, people are going to hate me. Sure.
Right.
Yeah, if people hate you, that's what is going to happen. It's what's going to happen. But there's going to be people over on that side that are going to welcome you and, talk to you about it and explain more to you. And the thing is, too, is that you can choose a side, but you can also switch sides, too.
Yeah. Sure.
Anywhere down the road, if you find that it doesn't follow what you yourself believe in, you have every right to pull out of it and choose something else.
Sure.
So I would much rather you be truthful and honest with yourself and with me and Zach, than to worry about what people have to say, because I want to hear everything and I want people to speak what they believe.
Yeah, and being a practicing Catholic myself, it feels like God, Jesus, is useful to help me stay grounded. And those things that we speak about with being accountable and owning yourself to the extreme, or owning up to things you've done, he is there to not only help you with it, but he is a guiding light in the sense that, he can be your strength as needed. Of course, that doesn't discount your own work and things that you do in your own head and your day-to-day lives and stuff like that. But having God there, at your side, so to say, is huge. He doesn't judge. He doesn't overlook. He's not going to sit there and not love you because you're doing sinful things or not doing this, not doing that. It's one of those things where you get to live vicariously through what he did. You could be kind, you could be generous, you could be giving to the community, you can donate, you could be the best person that you could be. And in the sense that someone does that, as we'll say person A doesn't believe in God but does all those things, acts righteously, as a person who practices religion would. And just because, you don't have a label or anything doesn't mean that, you're a bad person. Doesn't mean that you should follow the ways that everyone else is. Like Ian was saying, being someone who's a part of a herd, there's nothing wrong with being independent and being your own person, but of course someone who practices will be able to see and tell you that doing all those things, means something. It's the values you have, the morals that you follow, and I think everything coincided with each other. You can live with God in your life and have him be your ground, something to keep you based, something to challenge yourself with, because in this case, Jesus died for us. And it's something that Meg tells me that her mom brings up a lot, is giving things up to Jesus. And this, can coincide with realistically anything, but the big thing is stuff that you don't want to do, stuff that you don't care to, be trying to do. Things like chores, things like, going to see, people that you don't necessarily like, maybe going and, making a big donation that you aren't ready for, or taking another step in your life that's a challenge that you wouldn't have seen yourself doing. When you get into those situations where things are tough and, the road becomes this huge wall and it looks like a mountain you need to climb, you have to give that stuff up to Jesus. And in the case that you do run into those things, it's not always, a bad thing. Sometimes people see it like that, like, oh, this is another failure. Well, it can also be a lesson. It could be somewhere to show you a new way. And, in those cases where things do get difficult, you always have someone there, behind you, supporting you. And I think that's, where the power of prayer comes in, with the power of being able to trust
Amen.
that you have other people in your life that can be there for you, in those specific times, because you're not alone as much as you are and you think you can be, and with a lot of mental challenges that come people's way in the form of illnesses or, diseases. There's also always, someone discounting themselves, but you're never alone. You're never alone.
Awesome. Very well said, my man. Yeah. all that is very true. It made me think of my kids thinking about the dark and how they're scared of it. And I told them everyone's afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
They're like, even you? And I'm like, yeah, of course. It's the kind of the unknown. But what changed for me at a point in my life where I was kind of like, all right, well, I feel like everybody who is figuring out the whole God thing, let's test some stuff, let's see, not that that's how God works. It's like, oh, let me test you. If I test you and you do what I want in a good way, like, I'll believe you. It's like, that's not how it works. But like, when you don't know, being me, an earlier learner, this is kind of the stuff that you do. But really, instead of like saying, okay, if you protect me while I'm in the dark, we'll be cool. Instead of that, it was more of like, God's got me. And it's like almost like, I want to call it like blind faith, but in a sense, it's like he'll take care of that. So you can almost, in a way, I feel like everybody these days has anxiety, like through the roof. And I don't know if it's always been that way or if it's because the world is just so crazy and in depth, leading to what we say with like people don't know what to choose kind of thing. There's too many options. There's just stuff happening all the time. Where if you can like sort of pass that off onto someone being God, in a way that like calms you, I think that's like a good thing. And I think that's what, for me, walking in the dark is like. Sometimes during hunting season, I'm literally walking through a pitch black forest at 4:00 in the morning, and you hear some stuff. And, not that you shouldn't be aware again, but you're sort of just like, God's got me. We're good. And so that's sort of how I explain to the kids how I deal with even, walking in the backyard in the dark. It's like, I don't even think about it anymore because I know God's got me. And that can go for like anything, like you were saying, all the stuff you were saying, where like I try not to worry about too much from the human world and the things that we've created as far as pros and cons to life, bills, money, future. But so yeah, I kind of try to give some of that to him and let it roll. And hey, if hurdles come, we work through it, we figure it out, and I think that also makes you like more resilient. You gotta take a beating sometimes, and you gotta eat it and pretend like you like it. I think I think I've told Ian before. There's a few that kind of come up. Embrace the suck. That's one of them.
Nice.
Do things that you don't like you love it. I think that came from a Joe Rogan podcast with Mike Tyson. They were talking about things that he doesn't like to do, but to do them like you love it. So you don't like the dishes? Enjoy it. You don't like the laundry? Enjoy it. You don't like work? I don't know. Either enjoy it, or find something in it that gives you joy, or use that to put you to a new job to then like that. I don't know. It's all these little things that's like, you have to kind of eat through some terrible stuff to get where you want to go. I think it creates character, and it, pushes us a little bit, gets our hands dirty, which I feel like no one wants to do anymore. And unfortunately,
absolutely,
it's the only way.
Yeah. Honestly, it's I guess I wouldn't say it's scary, but it's a little worrisome.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, at the end of the day, all three of those things, form into having a sound mindset, someone who can think for themselves and operate on that mental note. With God in your life, with extreme ownership and accountability, each of those things all come with being able to think proactively and being able to operate at a day-to-day that might not be easy for most people. None of that stuff is easy, by no means. Again, I think we can touch back on the fact that any of those things don't come with any overnight success. They come with hard work and passion and being able to put yourself on the line over and over again, because success doesn't come immediately. It's like we were saying earlier with every, failure. It could be looked at as a lesson. Sometimes all failures aren't lessons, they're just failures, but each one will knock you down, and it's just a matter of whether or not you decide to get back up again.
Belief is a strong thing.
Yes.
And when you really put it behind something and you truly believe in what you're preaching or what you're talking about or what you think, that is when you have control over your life.
Yes.
Is when you finally have that true rooted belief. Without the roots, it's nothing.
Right. I didn't feel, probably only until like a few years ago, probably. I'm going to be 37 soon. So, I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago, we'll say, where I really was like what you just said, like really like hit me in a sense that, not that I'm being stubborn about my beliefs, but like they're in here and I'm just like, oh, like that's it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody comes to me ever and tries to sell me about how this is the way. Nah, sorry, bro. No, it's like, I just feel so strongly in that now that, again, not that I'm closed off to like other things or
Yeah.
how the Bible is really this way or that way, or it's like you should kind of always question some of that. But just God in itself, like that's it for me. And it gave me that sort of like power of like, this is it. And
Sure.
from there, everything else like trickled into being empowered also. Just like being, I'm not older, but 30s kind of gave me that like real confidence in like who I was and like what I want my kids to learn, who I want them to be per se.
Yeah.
Not like I want to form you to who you need to be, but like representing things that I know are 100% positive for them to sort of see in their everyday life.
Yeah.
Because they're starting at my 30-year-old mindset. So I'm raising them from my mindset currently from their birth.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas if I raised them when I was like 20, who knows, you know? So I always tell my kids, smoke that pack of cigarettes.
The entire thing in 10 minutes.
So, but yeah, it's time. And yeah, again, there's so many things that all of these could lead into experiences and
Yeah.
life. And yeah, it all is, you kind of just look for all those, even if they're this big, the little things that are like positive in your life. You can't have one without the other. You can't have good without the bad, but yeah, I think that number one to me leads into the only battle in life that exists is between good and evil. Everything else can emit from that.
Absolutely.
If you like think about it in like a root kind of way, it's solely a battle between good and evil. So yeah, I mean, these last 4 or 5 years, I've gotten deeper into everything, but like, government, conspiracy stuff, A to Z, whether it's the government or not, or aliens and stuff. You can hear a lot of crazy stuff, but it also, you start like connecting little things, whether it's about conspiracies or not, just other things in life that like, you're like, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And then you sort of build this chain of things that become like, that's got to be true. 100%. Can't not be. And then you can kind of link it to all these things. And then usually like 2 years later, it's like proven, with papers or conversations or people like openly admit things, that it's pretty wild.
And then people state that, while before it was like, put out into the world and like, open to it, everyone's rejecting that it's not true, nothing's real, within that, no actual claims. And then, like you said, 2 years later, it comes out and everyone doesn't even bat an eye to it.
Yep.
But we won't get into that too deep.
Yeah.
That'll be for...
Yeah, what we could do is when you guys have other guests and maybe there's things that you touch on, we could make that like a show or something, if that's cool. I don't know what your guys' plans are for anything, but like there's tons of stuff that, I feel like other guests would probably want to also dabble into, but it's like, we have X amount of time and so on and so forth. But yeah. Definitely.
Well, hey, before we start giving away ideas, we should talk about that after and let the people think about a very interesting surprise for the future. And with that being said, we do have to wrap things up here. We have given the people their content, so I think I'll let Ian close it out here. But just wanted to show our thanks and appreciation and our love for you showing up, Brad. It's definitely cool talking with you.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Always good time.
Yeah, thank you so much for hopping on, and we hope to have you back sometime soon, because I'm sure we can continue to talk about anything. And, well, this is Breakfast with Brothers, so you are a brother.
Yep.
Indeed.
You have your rightful spot here. But we'll wrap it up, and thank you guys so much for listening. Obviously, by this point that if you're a new listener, we have a Spotify account, so please follow us on Spotify. If not, check us out on YouTube. Again, we're working towards some other platforms. I know there's a lot of other podcast platforms, but for right now, we're just chilling on Spotify and YouTube. So check us out there. Make sure to subscribe and give us a like or two, whatever you want to do. Again, it's up to you. You have that choice. But until next time, peace out.
My boys, love you.
Out for the, I'm walking the bull, out for the, out for the, out for the, out for the, out for the.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.